All right, let's take a deep dive into Zen in the Art of Archery by Eugen Herrigel.
Okay, sounds good.
It's a pretty fascinating look at the Japanese approach to archery
Yeah,
and how they see it, not just as, a physical skill,
right.
but as a pathway to spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just about, hitting the target.
Right.
It's about hitting yourself in a way.
Yeah, hitting the target within.
That's a weird concept.
Yeah.
Hitting yourself.
Yeah, well, I think, right from the start, Herrigel kind of dives into this idea of like artless art.
Right.
This idea that you have to transcend technique
Yeah.
and achieve effortless mastery.
Right, but how does that even work?
Yeah. Right.
With something as precise as archery?
Yeah, I mean, his journey is really kind of fascinating because he comes in with, very Western expectations, thinking, I'm going to learn, step by step how to, hit the bullseye.
Yeah, give me the technique. Give me the secret.
Right. But the master focuses on something completely different.
So what does he focus on?
It's all about cultivating the right mindset.
So is that where the letting go of self comes in?
Exactly.
It's not about aiming for the target in the conventional sense,
right.
but rather becoming one with the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And that process starts with the physical breath control specifically.
Okay.
The master emphasizes this idea that through proper breathing, you can tap into a source of spiritual strength. So Herrigel, he even describes it as binding, loosening, and overcoming limitations.
So it's almost like harnessing an inner power.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing how something as simple as breathing can be so central to this whole idea of spiritual development in archery, but...
Okay, but then how does that translate into actually hitting the target?
So that's where things get really, really intriguing, because the master doesn't really talk about aiming. Okay.
In the way that we typically think about aiming.
Right.
He talks about it shooting.
Okay, wait, it's shooting.
Yeah.
So, some mystical force is taking over and guiding the arrow.
Not quite that dramatic, but it can certainly feel that way.
Okay.
So the master really emphasizes this idea of achieving a state of egolessness, where action arises naturally, free from conscious intention.
So it's almost paradoxical to hit the target without aiming.
Exactly. And Herrigel's is, of course, skeptical.
Yeah, I bet.
And so the master actually demonstrates this.
Oh, really?
By hitting the target blindfolded.
Blindfolded?
Not once, but twice.
Wow, okay.
And the second arrow actually hits the first.
That's incredible.
It's incredible, and it really throws Herrigel for a loop.
Right.
But it also reveals the profound potential of what this it shooting can achieve.
So if we're not aiming in the conventional sense, then what are we aiming for?
Right, so the master explains that the target isn't just...
physical object. It's the Buddha.
A Buddha.
So it's about aligning yourself with this higher purpose and going beyond the limitations of technique and ego.
Okay, so that's a whole new spin on archery.
It is.
How do you even begin to cultivate that ability? That shooting ability?
Well, that's what Herrigel sets out to discover.
Right.
And his journey is anything but straightforward.
Yeah.
It's full of challenges and frustrations, moments of doubt.
Of course.
As he grapples with this mental and spiritual aspect of archery.
So he's learning a whole new way of seeing.
Exactly.
Not just aiming.
Exactly.
It's fascinating. And then...
And the role of the master is so crucial here because he doesn't teach in the traditional sense. He's not, lecturing or giving step-by-step instructions.
He's guiding.
He guides Herrigel through this process of self-discovery. Using silent observation and subtle cues.
Help him unlock his inner potential.
That teacher-student dynamic is so fascinating.
It is.
It's so different from our, Western emphasis on explicit instruction.
Exactly.
And immediate feedback.
The Japanese master really emphasizes this idea of transference of the spirit.
Transference of the spirit. What does that even mean?
So it's about embodying the essence of the art. And transmitting it through presence and action.
So that sounds pretty mysterious.
It is a bit mysterious.
Can you unpack that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, so think of it like this. The master becomes a conduit for what they call the spirit of the right art. So he's not just teaching techniques. But he's cultivating a way of being.
So it's less about acquiring knowledge. And more about cultivating...
a certain state of mind. Exactly. Right, okay.
It's about achieving a state of true selflessness.
Wow.
Where the ego dissolves.
That sounds challenging.
It is.
To quiet the ego to that extent?
Yeah. It's not an easy path, but as Herrigel discovers, the rewards are profound.
Yeah.
So he describes the artist as working from a place of right presence of mind.
Presence of mind.
Where the mind is present everywhere.
Okay.
Because it's not attached to any particular place.
I see. It's like achieving that state of flow.
Exactly.
That artists and creators often talk about.
Yes, exactly.
Where action becomes effortless.
Yes.
Time seems to disappear.
Right.
But how do you cultivate that?
Yeah.
It can't just happen by chance, can it?
Well, that's a question that Herrigel grapples with throughout his entire journey.
Right, and it's one that we will continue to explore.
Yes.
As we continue our deep dive into Zen and the art of archery.
Exactly.
So much more to uncover in this fascinating world of Zen and archery.
Absolutely.
I'm eager to learn more about how he eventually comes to terms with this whole idea of it shooting.
Yeah.
And whether he actually experiences it for himself. But until then, keep those minds open.
Keep them open.
And those arrows flying.
Absolutely. You know, picking up on that idea of practice, Herrigel's journey really highlights that shooting isn't something you just, like, stumble upon.
Right.
It's cultivated through, like, a very deliberate process.
Yeah.
It's almost like a spiritual training regimen.
So it's not about emptying your mind completely.
Right.
But it's about quieting the ego.
Exactly.
And creating space for a different kind of awareness.
Yeah, it's about cultivating a very receptive state of mind.
Right.
The master calls it non-thinking.
Non-thinking.
Where intuition and instinct can take over.
Okay.
Which Herrigel really struggles with.
Yeah, of course. Coming
from a very,
like Western rational thought.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
A culture that prizes rational thought and control.
I'm still curious about this transference of the spirit idea.
Right.
How does that actually work in practice?
Yeah, so, picture like the traditional master-student relationship.
Right.
It's not about lectures and textbooks, right? It's about embodying the art.
Right.
Transmitting it through action and presence.
Yeah.
Herrigel even describes the master as like this living example of like art.
So the student learns through observing and imitating.
Exactly.
Almost absorbing the spirit of the art through like osmosis.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's interesting how like we learn in other areas of life. We often pick up more from watching someone do something than from just being told how to do it.
Think about learning a new sport or a musical instrument, a new language. There's a certain like feel to it that you can't convey through words alone.
So how does this transference of the spirit connect back to the shooting idea?
Right. So it's not like a direct transfer of skill, but it's more about cultivating the right conditions for it to emerge.
Okay.
So the master's not giving Herrigel the answers, right?
But he's kind of guiding him towards a state of being where those answers can reveal themselves.
It's very indirect and nuanced.
Very much so.
Which I guess aligns with Zen philosophy, right?
Exactly.
Letting go of control, embracing the present moment.
It's a process of continual refinement.
Right.
Striving to become more present, more egoless, more attuned to like the spirit of the art.
That's a lot of work.
It takes time.
Yeah. He talks about this intense focus on breath control.
Right. Breath is like central to achieving this right presence of mind.
Yeah.
Herrigel talks about, practicing this to the point where everything else fades away.
Right.
It becomes like an anchor to the present moment.
Right. It sounds like meditation.
Exactly.
Using the breath to quiet the mind.
Yes.
And create space for it to emerge.
Yeah. And he does experience it shooting.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, but it's a long and winding road.
Yeah, but he faces setbacks, doubts.
Moments where he wants to give up.
Exactly.
But eventually, years of dedicated practice.
He has a breakthrough.
Tell me about it. What happens?
So it occurs during a practice session, and he's not even aware that he's doing anything different.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the master acknowledges it.
Oh, wow.
He says, just then, it's shot.
That's amazing. So it just kind of sneaks up on him.
Exactly.
He doesn't even realize it's happening until the master says something.
Exactly. And that's the thing about it shooting. You can't force it.
Right.
It arises from this state of like complete self-oblivion, this moment of like pure, unadulterated being.
So it's not about trying harder.
Right.
Perfecting your technique.
Exactly.
It's about surrendering to the process.
Yes.
And letting go of all conscious effort.
A great way to put it.
That's a lesson that goes beyond archery.
Absolutely.
I mean, that speaks to the power of letting go.
Yes.
of our ego's grip.
Right, and allowing ourselves to become, instruments of something larger than ourselves.
Exactly. And I think about how, we get so caught up in our own heads, overthinking things, trying to control every outcome.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what prevents us from experiencing these moments of true flow and effortless creativity.
It's such an insightful connection.
It is, yeah.
But then how do we cultivate that trust?
Right.
That ability to let go.
It seems like a tall order.
In an achievement-oriented society.
Absolutely.
It's something that Herrigel continues to explore.
Yeah.
As he kind of delves deeper into this world of Zen archery.
So much more to uncover.
Yeah.
In this fascinating journey of self-discovery.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to hear what happens next.
Right.
And how he navigates this new understanding of it shooting. Shall we dive into that?
Let's do it.
In the next part of our exploration?
Absolutely. There's still much more to uncover about this paradoxical nature of Zen archery.
Right.
And its profound implications for life beyond the target.
So we left off with Herrigel having this major breakthrough moment.
Right.
Where he experiences it shooting for the first time.
Yes.
But I'm guessing it doesn't mean he's suddenly a Zen archery master.
No, not at all. In fact, the master actually cautions him.
Oh, really?
Against, getting too excited about this one successful shot.
He's like, don't let it go to your head.
Exactly. He even says, you know already that you should not grieve over bad shots. Learn now not to rejoice over the good ones.
It's about staying balanced.
Exactly.
Not getting caught up.
Right.
In the highs and lows.
Yeah, and the ups and downs.
A perfect shot or a missed target.
Maintaining that equanimity, that inner stillness.
Regardless of the outcome.
Exactly.
Which makes sense because, the whole point of Zen archery isn't about hitting the target. It's about the
inner transformation.
Inner transformation, right.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about cultivating that right presence of mind.
Right.
That allows for effortless action.
Whether you hit the target or not.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that takes continuous practice.
Right. It's a continual refinement.
Right. So even after experiencing it shooting,
yes,
he still has to keep practicing, keep refining his technique.
Absolutely.
And keep working on that mental and spiritual aspect.
It's not about achieving some final state of perfection.
Right.
It's about this ongoing process of self-cultivation.
It sounds like a lifelong journey, much like any other pursuit of mastery.
Exactly.
You never really arrive. You're always striving to become better, to deepen your understanding.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So what happens next in Herrigel's journey?
So he goes through periods of both. There are times when he's shooting effortlessly.
Yeah.
The arrow seems to be flying of its own accord.
Right. He's in the zone. And then there are other times when he falls back.
Right.
Into old habits, overthinking.
But trying too hard.
Yeah.
Losing that sense of flow.
It's like when you're completely in the zone.
Yes.
Everything's clicking.
Right.
You're performing at your peak.
Yeah.
And then you lose it and you can't get back there.
It's so frustrating.
No matter how hard you try.
Right. And that's where the master's guidance, I think, becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
Because he reminds Herrigel to, let go of his attachment to outcomes.
Right.
Focus on the process.
Rather than the result.
Exactly.
Trusting that if you, cultivate the right mindset.
Yes.
The results will follow.
Exactly.
Even if they're not what you expect.
You have to surrender to the mystery of it.
Yeah.
Allow the process to unfold naturally.
Without forcing it, without controlling it.
Exactly.
Herrigel's journey, I think, is a really powerful reminder.
Yes.
That, true mastery isn't about achieving some fixed state of perfection.
Right.
But rather,
it's about the journey.
Embracing the journey.
Yes.
Of continuous learning and growth.
It's about cultivating that inner stillness.
Right.
That right presence of mind.
That allows us to act effortlessly and with clarity.
Exactly.
Even when we're faced with challenges and setbacks.
Absolutely.
Maybe if we apply these principles of Zen archery
right.
to other areas of our lives, we might just find ourselves hitting the target.
I think so.
More often than we ever thought possible.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Zen and the Art of Archery, I'm wondering, how can we each cultivate that in our own lives?
That's the question, isn't it?
That's the big question.
Yeah, and maybe the first step is just becoming aware of its existence,
Yeah.
recognizing that, there's this deeper level of being and acting that we can all tap into.
If we're willing to let go.
If we're willing to let go.
Of our preconceived notions.
Yeah.
And embrace the present moment.
Absolutely.
Trust the process.
Yes.
Quiet the mind.
Quiet the mind.
And allow the arrows of our actions.
Let them fly.
To fly with effortless grace.
You got it.
And who knows, maybe we'll all be surprised by where those arrows land.
I think so too.
Until next time, keep those arrows flying, folks.
Keep them flying.
And remember, the journey is just as important as the destination.
Absolutely.
Happy learning.